So, this is something that people have asked me to address in the past, and that is the concept or theory of the veil, the wall, the boundary, the divider between us and the spirit world. Now, the first thing you have to understand and accept is that spirits do exist. I get so tired of people doubting their own experiences. They've seen them, they've touched them, they've smelled them, they've felt their presence, and yet they're not sure and they are afraid to take a position. Let me help you. They exist. They are real. They are everywhere. I know people have their own ideas about the spirits of the dead, but I am not talking about a wall between the living and the dead, but a wall between us and monsters. This is about the wall, the barrier. Does it exist? And why does it exist? Are we to assume that without this barrier, we would just be subjected to every and anything that exists in the spirit realm? Is this veil something that covers all nations and people? Or does each individual walk around with their own veil of protection? Because this is the reason you have something like this in place to begin with. Because there is no need to place a wall between us and those beings who are benevolent toward us. No, you put the wall in place to separate us from evil. Because of everything that is happening around us, you may have heard people say things like, the veil is thinning as a precursor to the end times. But what does that mean? There is a John Carpenter film that was made some years ago that is a great example of this veil thinning called In the Mouth of Madness. This film is mainly about an author who writes horror novels, and when people read his writings, the horror elements in his writings spill over into our reality, ultimately creating chaos. I won't spoil it for you if you haven't seen it. The point is, the film is a good illustration of the psychosis of an individual experiencing things in our reality that would suggest a thinning of the veil. Now understand, this thinning of the veil is not just about the visibility of spirits. It's not just about seeing spirits. It's about spirits being able to see you, being able to get to you, not just physically, but mentally and spiritually. And so what we will see first is a change in behavior among people. Mania is what I'm driving at here. This is why I always say you should be spiritually grounded, because those who are not are subjected to becoming manic. A lot of this is going to stem from breaking under stress. When we think about the physical nature of the veil, that would actually involve an understanding of quantum physics. Some people have an understanding that this veil changes throughout the seasons, and we have a tool, right? Astrology, they call it, right? Witches understand that at certain times of the year, such as around Halloween, the veil thins out, which allows for high conjuring activity. It's easier to communicate with spirits. I did a presentation on Adam and Eve, and in that story, the devil only tempted Eve once the guardian angels left her alone for a moment. That veil is also part of our protection from these evil spirits. People still attempt to communicate with them. Let me make this very clear. And I feel like I'm repeating myself, but some people just don't get it. You have angels, you have demons. There are benevolent angels and fallen angels. Some of those fallen angels took women and had offspring. A Nephilim race of giants. When those giants died, their spirits could not return to heaven. So they remained stuck here with us, and because the psychology of these spirits is that of a psychopath, they are known as evil spirits. That veil separates them from us, but they still are allowed to influence people and lure people into letting them in. But let me tell you, when you look for answers outside of God and consult spirits, that protection is not going to be there. These spirits will be allowed to infect and harass you. People try to sugarcoat these types of spiritism practices. That means anything involved with communicating with spirits of any kind, God only. And then they turn around and wonder why bad things keep happening to them. I'll tell you a secret. A good sign of being spiritually attacked, here's how you know. When things break or start breaking down all around you. Now, no one has to agree with me on any of this. This is based on all the things that I have dug into over the years. Some of those things have been pretty dark, which is why I have come to this opinion. I believe there is more than one veil. I believe there is one in place for all mankind, one that holds these spirits back until God is ready for that veil to be lifted, and I think we each have our own personal veil of protection, which is why some people are more susceptible than others when it comes to being engaged by these entities. One of the things that I learned is that you can't focus your energy in their direction because they will take notice. It's just like when a fish nibbles on a fishing line. And so what you get are more things that divert your attention over to them. Next thing you know, they are on you like a parasite infection. The best thing to me is just to try and keep anything associated with these spirits out of your life. Because if God decides to lift that main barrier, who is going to be protected and who's not? You know, there are certain areas around the world that are, how should I put it, dwelling places for these spirits. And some of these locations are in areas that are restricted and often guarded. And in those locations, I would say that the veil is very thin, almost non-existent. So some of those places are guarded for your own protection, really. Planes can't even fly over these areas. Astronauts come back with stories. Their psychosis is often altered by the things they experience because they are probably in an area where that veil is super thin. Just like these places on land and out there in the ocean. Certain areas that are known for anomalies, right? Now, I wanted to show you guys something. Opening strange portals in physics. Physicist Lisa Randall explores the mind-stretching realms that new experiments soon may expose. And in this article, there is an interview with Randall. One of the questions and responses were, can you describe the essence of your idea about extra dimensions? There could be more to the universe than the 3 dimensions we are familiar with. They are hidden from us in some way, perhaps because they are tiny or warped. But even if they are invisible, they could affect what we actually observe in the universe. There are lots of things we cannot see with the naked eye that turn out to be based in reality. Extra dimensions could be relevant to one of the questions we're trying to answer at the LHC. How particles get their mass and why they have the masses that they do, which are far smaller than physicists would expect them to be. So our idea is there's an extra dimension that's so warped, the masses would be big in one place and small in another. In other words, gravity could be weaker in one place and stronger in another. If so, It could be a natural explanation both for why particles' masses are what they are, and why gravity is so much weaker than the other elementary forces we observe. What she's saying is that this other dimension is warped in places due to gravitational forces affecting the mass of whatever exists in this other dimension. This is also an understanding you use if you want to open doorways using science, or a particle accelerator. So what I am saying here is that if this veil is operational due to the physical conditions of the earth, then if the earth goes through changes, does that affect the veil? Do changes in the cosmos affect it? Can the sun and the moon affect the veil? Something to think about as we get through this material. There is more to come, so please stay tuned. Be sure to visit woodwardentertainment.com and the Woodward Entertainment store. And be sure to check out our sponsors' products there as well. You can follow me on Instagram at jwoodward. And until next time, friends, stay awake, stay aware, stay safe, and I'll talk to you all soon.